Right, quick video on kit. So one of the nice things about canoeing is all of a sudden weight doesn't become an issue. And so all of a sudden we actually can carry an awful lot of kit. If you could get a car to balance on a canoe, you can still move with your little finger. So we're going to watch so we don't get too carried away, but all the issues you get when you've done a walking expedition or a cycling expedition where weight's a real issue, not such an issue with cycling. So we'll put them in these barrels, a limited number of barrels. You'll get one barrel for your clothes, and then either an individual small barrel for your food or one big barrel to share between two of you for your food. That should be about it really. And I've got a little dry bag there for the tent. So we'll have a quick look, see what I got in. They're kind of thrown in there in no particular order. So I've got some gloves. Have a look at the weather forecast. So if it's looking like it's going to be cold morning, sometimes actually beautiful dry days can be super cold. So I might go and throw some in. Very rare I go and use gloves on the river. These are actually really cheap cycling ones that are kind of windproof and still work fine when they go in there. First aid. You haven't got to recreate the wheel. I've got a very small first aid kit, and if you actually went and thought about the rest of your team, then you can have a really impressive first aid kit if you all carries, if you plan between you, rather than if you go and each do your own individual thing, you might each of you got a NAF first aid kit. But so that's part of your team first aid kit. You can take personal stuff, lotions and potions and pills. You can take for your own personal use, but not to share with everybody else. Suntan lotion, really good. You're going to be out in the sun all day long, so the back of the neck, underneath your eyes and your nose and things like that. You might not need it because we're in England. Oh, well, actually, we're going to be in France. And I've got a thing quite fit in there, but I've got a triangular bandage. This is really Hygiene. Nappy wipes, just wonder if you can actually have a shower or clean yourself with nappy wipes if somebody goes and grazes themselves. So it's not a full pack, just any brand, but I would highly recommend. Compass, really useful, and I only recommend the silver ones. Oh gosh, there's another one, I forgot the name. Sunto, silver and Sunto are the only two compasses manufacturers, about 25 quid. You only need one per group really. Just helps you orientate your map and make navigation a little bit easier. So you want to have at least one in your group. On the top of my rucksack I've got my waterproofs, which hopefully I won't need. So waterproof trousers, just normal box standard waterproof trousers, and a nice thin waterproof top, so if it's hot but still raining I can put that on. It's also windproof, it adds to my layers, so that's a good crack. Want to have a torch, you only need one per tent, and I would suggest a head torch. And your tents, they're 3-man tents, but you might decide to have two of you in a tent, or 3, depending how it goes. And the battery life on them is amazing, they'll last a week. Now, this is a dry tub, and I have complete 100%. It's got a nice rubber seal in here, and it's got a metal band that clips it up. I would have absolutely utter faith that everything would stay dry in here, but at the same time, I don't want to get to the campsite and find that my spare set of clothes and my sleeping bag are wet. So I put them in a dry bag, and I would suggest you do the same. You could use a rubber bag, but I would suggest that maybe investing a bit of money in a dry bag is a good idea. And so this is really my day-to-day stuff that I might go and... So I've got a fleece, doesn't have to be anything particularly special, polyester fleece would be fine. I've got a gilet, we avoid cotton as I go across there, and I've got a hat and a snood. I've got no idea why I've got a pair of socks in there, I don't need to have that in there. So those are the things that I might be taking on and off during the day, and I've packed those in a separate bag, separate dry bag, so it's double wrapped really. That's in a dry bag and it's in a dry tub. And that's being packed separately to the stuff that I need when I get to the campsite. So if you imagine you've got a drizzly day, every time I open up the tub there's going to get a bit of water in there, and things are going to start to get a little bit wet. And so having this in a separate bag, if that gets a bit damp, it's not the end of the world, that's okay. But it would be a real problem if my sleeping bag and my dry clothes when I got to the campsite were wet. And so in here are only the things I need for when I get to the campsite. Absolutely most important thing, nice night's sleep. If you've been working hard, nice sleeping bag, compression bag, and 3-season sleeping bag. I've used an inflatable roll sleeping mat, but you can use those. Most people use the thick cell polyester ones, and what you do is you put them around the outside of your tub, and then you put everything on the inside of your tub, and it fits in there just perfectly. It's fine. And that needn't be put in a separate bag. That could just go in there and be fine. More recently, it's quite new for me, but I've actually started using inflatable pillows, getting a bit soft. Quite like those. You can just get hold of your dry bag and stuff with your stuff in your dry bag and use that as a pillow. I want to have a shower when I get there, and but a normal cotton towel, they're wonderful to use, but only once, and then you can't dry it again. You're going to have it for 4 days. So just a relatively small one. That's about as small as you can go, and one of these travel towels, and literally a couple of hours of sunshine and a bit of wind, and that will dry out. So that's well useful. And once, of course, it's got damp, I wouldn't store it with my sleeping bag. I'd store it separately. And then I want to put something else on my feet. Flip-flops are probably the best, nice and light. Doesn't matter if your feet get wet in the dew of the grass or when you're taking the canoe out. Nice to get some air. One of the problems with kayaking is, a bit like being in a bath too long, because you can get a bit wrinkly. So actually getting some air to your feet. So flip-flops are absolutely fantastic, just really cheap, naffy flip-flops. And then just for me to sleep in, I've actually got a cotton t-shirt just for me to sleep in, and a pair of socks if it's really, really cold for me to sleep at night, and I'd have some underwear as well. Part of my first aid kit, I quite like these. These are a measure of how badly somebody's hurt themselves. Spray on plaster. So clean it up in the water, baby wipes, and then you spray this on, and it sterilises it and puts a thin film of plastic. And they're fantastic for water sports, because if you put any sort of plaster on there, it's going to come off. But this stuff, once you sprayed it on there, it puts a thin film of plastic over the wound, and it stays on there. It's a test of how somebody badly has hurt themselves, because it stings like nobody business when you put it on there. But it sterilises and gives you a completely waterproof plaster that's going to stay on there. So I really like this brown plaster stuff. This is a little, just a bag of stuff for me to keep clean. So in here I've got a little bit of shampoo, don't need the whole one. Really a little tiny tub will be good, so you can either get one of the travel ones, or you can you get some really cool yogurt pots, little packs of 6, which produce some really nice, about this sort of size. That'll be fine for 4 days. So a bit of shower gel, I want to be able to clean the teeth, so I've got a toothbrush, some toothpaste, that's a bit ridiculously big, a little, one of those sample ones would be perfect, but whatever you got at home, don't go and buy something special. And some tissue paper, which blow your nose, go to the loo, all those sorts of things. So 1 or 2 of those is a good idea. So that's a little cleansing bag, that's 1 barrel empty. I obviously have the clothes on that I would be wearing, and that would depend hugely on what the weather's going to do. So what I've sort of got in here is some other clothes which I might be wearing when I'm paddling, or I might not. So if it's fantastic sunshine, then all I'm going to be wearing is a t-shirt and some shorts, and my buoyancy aid obviously, and probably some trainers on my feet. And the trainers are just going to get soaked, and they're going to be soaked for 4 days long. Trainers are good because they allow you to get out your canoe, into your canoe, rather than if you wear flip-flops, they tend to, they're not quite on your foot properly. So actually if you're trying to actually manhandle your canoe along the edge of the bank, or somebody falls in, you're running along, flip-flops aren't great for that. These are good for camp. So in here I've got some other clothes. I would suggest, if it's a lovely sunny day, then just a sports t-shirt, non-cotton t-shirt. So this is just a cheapy t-shirt, and I would, somewhere in here I think, maybe not, yes we have, I've got some shorts, and again they're polyester nylon shorts, and if the weather's nice, that's all I'm going to wear, with a buoyancy, and that's actually fine. If the weather's cold and horrible, then I'm going to be wearing some trousers. So these again, polyester trousers, nylon polyester trousers. The advantage of these, if you get wet and then the sun pops out, it's 2 hours later, they're fairly much dry. Rather than get a pair of jeans and they get wet, it can then be 80, 90 degrees, scorching hot, lovely hot day, they won't dry. They'll stay wet all day long, and they cling to your skin, and you get friction where they're wet. Really, really unpleasant. So if it's cold, then I would go from my shorts to some trousers, and then it's funny, the sun's, because it could be so hot with the sun, that actually it's plenty warm enough to wear your t-shirt, but that's actually not protecting the back of your neck, it's not protecting very much of your arm, it's only protecting the top of your arm, and so sunburn can be a real issue. And so this is travel shirt, so it's got no cotton in it. It's got a collar, so I can fold that one up to protect the back of my neck. It's got long sleeves. It can also be useful at night when you're around a camp. You know, we might have mozzies. Hopefully not, but you could do. And if they're about, you don't really want to be wearing. You want to cover all your skin. Any bit of your skin that's not covered, the mozzies are going to be eating. So it can be good for sun protection. It can be good for protecting you from the beasties that go in there. And then at night, when you're in a campsite going around, having a nice thick fleece, and I definitely would carry two, because this is one that I'm wearing during the day, but I might fall in and this might get soaking wet. It will dry out fairly quickly, but it's still going to be damp. And so when I get to the campsite at night, I definitely don't want to be putting on any wet clothes. So I've actually got a second set of trousers, because if I was wearing those trousers, they would definitely be wet as well. Some dry trousers I can put on, dry underwear, with my flip-flops, a nice fleece of some description that I can put on there with my hat, because even on a sunny day it gets cold in the evening. So lots of layers, lots of clothes that goes in there. And then this is a bit of a treat really. I wouldn't do it cycling and I wouldn't do it walking, but kayaking I can take lots of weight in my kit. So I've actually got some PJs. So it's a bit of a treat there, and I've got 2 pairs of socks. The socks are going to be no good to me at all when I'm kayaking. I mean, if it's a really cold day, I can put them on. They're going to get wet, but it'll keep me warmer. It's more to do about in the campsite. So when I go to bed at night and if it's a bit chilly, I can wear them inside my sleeping bag with my PJ shorts and a shirt, and I can be really quite comfy. So that's all the sort of kind of food and bits and pieces in there. This one is my food tub. I really think about these dry bags. I've got a whole series of dry bags. Even though it's a dry tub, everything also gets double bagged. And so I'd have one, like I say, that's particularly sleeping bags. Sleeping bags are the worst case scenario, that you go paddling for the day, you go for a swim, you get wet, you get to the campsite, get your sleeping bag out and you find it's wet. You're going to have a horrible night. The chances of drying out are quite slim. Right, foodie bags. Food. One cooker per tent, so you don't have to, you might be carrying a cooker or you might not. So in here I've got a 3-man tent, which is wrapped up in a dry bag, so that's kind of separate. So you keep that across the side. And then one of your mates can carry the cooker. You might have got the cooker, you might not. So that's team stuff. So now I go to personal stuff. I like tea and coffee, so I've got some little pots in here of powdered milk. Last time I went down and we paddled the tarn, actually you can get the extra long life milk that's ultra filtered. It's still supposed to be kept in the fridge. And I bought 1 litre per day and took 4 litres, because I like fresh milk. I don't particularly like the French UHT milk, and it was fine. So it took us 2 days to drive down there. So it was out of the fridge for 2 days, and then I was on the river for 4 days, and the milk stayed fresh. When I opened it, it went off in about 4 or 5 hours. But as long as I had 1 milk thing, so you can go powder milk option, or you can go the like I say, the ultra filtered milk. We can go UHT milk, which doesn't need to be refrigerated at all. And I've got coffee, tea, and some milk powder in there, so I can make a hot drink whenever I like. I can make loads and loads of them, depending on what I feel like. And I've got my cooker in there. Water on the river is not going to be drinkable, and we do go through some villages. So I would actually say this is too small. I've grabbed this from my cycling thing, so I've got a 750ml and a 500ml bottle for my water. I think I would take 2 1 litre bottles of water, because weight doesn't matter. Because you can't use the water from the river to go and make a hot drink, and so actually having some fresh water to go and drink and something to be able to go and make a hot drink is important. If you're a person that doesn't like to drink water, then these little tiny things to go and put some chemicals and some chemical sweeteners in there to make it taste nice can work, but it's better if you don't. You need something to drink it out of, nice mug. And I quite like the plastic mugs, or the mugs that have got a top on them, because when you're camping it gets cold quite quickly, and even if the weather's beautiful, first thing in the morning, last thing at night it's going to be cold. And so the camping mugs that have a lid I quite like. This is an insulated aluminium one, which is quite cool. This is my bowl, and then the bit that usually everybody forgets is a spoon, or loses at some point along the way. I think I'm even doubly good at my trying to cook a bit. So there should be a full gas. 4 days, just about get away with a full gas on. What we'll do is we'll take a spare one, so we'll probably have three canoes, there'll be 6 of us out there, two tents, 2 tranches, a new gas bottle in each one, and 1 spare one just in case. And we use gas. And then I've got a teaspoon as well, super organised. I love these for making a spark to light it, because if they're soaking wet, they still work. And your pot handle. The normal stuff you can get. Food. So this is, mum and dad going away on a long journey. So if you're going away Easter on a long car journey, then the first thing you're going to do is fill up with food. And so this is all my food. And what I've done is, and I want you to do the same. They're packed in see-through plastic bags and label what they are. So I've got day 3 dinner. So it's going to sort it all out. Day 4 breakfast. So that way. Lunch on day 4. Lunch day 3. Breakfast on day 3. Dinner day 2. Oops, there. Breakfast day 2. Lunch day 2. Dinner day 1. Lunch day 1. And emergency rations. So, we'll have breakfast before we go out. So, breakfast on the first day sorted. We've got a 4-day expedition, gold expedition. We've got lunch day 1, hot dinner for day 2, breakfast, lunch, dinner, day 2, so that's day 1. Day 3, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then day 4, we've got breakfast and lunch, and we should be off the water for dinner. But if things take longer, minibus gets a flat tyre, somebody gets lost, a bit of kit floats down the river, that's when the emergency rations come in. It's just something to keep you going for a few more hours. So I really like shortbread biscuits. I've got a big pack of shortbread biscuits. I really like chocolates. There's a chocolate bar in there. That's my emergency rations, just in case I'm on the water. And in the ideal scenario, you finish your expedition, you come off, and we're doing a debrief, is I should be able to see your emergency rations. If all has gone well. What have I packed? We won't go through all of them, but we're quick. So this is lunch on day 1. So I quite like these tins of mackerel with tomato sauce in them. So that's a really nice protein hit with vitamins and minerals. And then my carb is going to be some pita breads. This pita bread's got a shelf life until the end of April, so it's got over a month's shelf life in there. So I packed this up now, and I'm actually not going out for 3 weeks, but actually I can use it in 3 weeks now. So that's the main kind of staple. And then I bought a packet of chocolate raisins, a packet of chocolate peanuts, some mixed fruit and nuts, chucked it all in together, and every day I've got one of these little sachets of some nice nibbles. What we have to watch is make sure that nobody in the group has got a nut allergy. If they have, then none of my food would have any nuts in it, and it would be the same with the whole group, just to be sure. And then some other bits, I always like chocolate, and then some kind of cereal bars that go across there, and these sesame seed crunches. So that's a lunch for me, and lots of nibbles. It needs to be things you enjoy eating, things that you don't. And with a canoeing one, well, with any expedition with a DofE, there's nothing to stop you making a hot drink at lunchtime. I would. I'm an English, I'll have a tea. So that was lunch day 1. Dinner has to be a hot meal. So I've just gone and, it's not a Wayfarer meal, very similar. This happens to be a chicken casserole. I find by itself that's not substantial enough. When I've been paddling on the water for, you're out for 8 hours for a gold expedition. So what I've also got is a partly cooked spelt. So it's a sweet chilli spelt with wild rice, apricots, and smoked paprika. And those two together make a substantial hot meal. This is not dried rice, because that would take too long to cook. It's partly cooked, but, so only a couple of minutes. I'm really only going to warm it up. So that's my main meal. Yeah.
I don't think it's recording.
Have a look. It gets up.
Just thought I'd say that now.
Well, it's done when it's done. No, we're good. Yeah, it's rolling away. Okay, that's good. This is for the people that couldn't make it today. Desserts, I've got some strawberry. I'll eat the raw strawberry jelly, and lo and behold, we have to have shortbread biscuits again, just because I like shortbread biscuits. So that's and I have a hot drink, which I've got loads of them in there. That's dinner on day 1. I'm not going to go through them all. Breakfast, you can do whatever you like. What I've got is what I like. And so in there is muesli, and then a lot of milk powder. And I'll chuck that in here, and pour some boiling water in it. It makes a bit of a porridgey sort of mix. I quite like it crunchy, so I'll eat it straight away. And the milk powder will give me that sort of milk one. But like I say, what you could do, and I have done it with camping, is you get out either UHT milk, which has ridiculous shelf life, months and months, or if you buy that ultra filtered fresh milk, that has a ridiculous shelf life outside of the fridge. And when I get up in the morning, quite often I don't feel like getting up, and so I just have a chocolate bar that's just a bit of a treat, really. And I really like Snickers, which is fine as long as nobody's not got a nut allergy. Other bits I've done in here, which is slightly different. This one's got a different main bit. One of these John West tuna job things, this is a Mexican tuna salad, which is super yummy, ridiculous long shelf life again. So that's in there. What we don't want to have is we can't go and take pasties, we can't go and take sandwiches, we can't go and take some pasta, bits and pieces, because we've got 12 hours. It's probably going to take us 24 hours by the time we've done the ferry and the drive down to southern France. And then you're going to be on the water, so potentially all those fresh foods are going to be out of a fridge for 24 hours at least. And then you're going to think about eating them, and then hopefully if we're going to see lots of sunshine, it's going to give you just tummy problems. And then the other variation is you get this instant custard powder. So I peel the top off carefully, pour boiling water in it, mix it up inside there, put a bit of fruit in there, and that's quite nice for a dessert. But other than that, that's about it. Bin bags are always really useful. They're quite difficult to get now, aren't they? But if you get hold of, I actually would get hold of 4, so I've actually got 3 here, and I've got these empty bags as well. But when you're in camp, it's amazing how much rubbish you end up with, and it's nice to have one bag that you can go and chuck your stuff in, and then before you hit the water, you can go and put that in the bin, and job done. And during the day as well, you might have a bag in there. So that's food, which is your fuel, and that's that one empty. And then here is, as I mentioned before, you've only got, this is a 3-man tent, all set, ready to go, in a dry bag. So I don't trust the fact that's going to stay dry, so that's in a dry bag. That's fine for the first night. And then on the second morning, what I actually do is I separate the fly sheet and the inner. So the fly sheet, if you're lucky, if it's really dry, you can put that out, you can take your tent down, put it over some bushes and things, and it'll be dry, and then you can put it all back together again. If it's a wet day, or there's lots of condensation on your fly sheet, and you can't get it dry, I would pack it up separately. So what I actually do is I end up putting the inner inside here, and the fly sheet that's wet, as I go and pack separately in one of my barrels. But just trying to keep my dry stuff separate from my wet stuff. Any questions? The big advantage with a canoe is, we've got these barrels which they're absolutely bulletproof. The only thing that can go wrong with a barrel is they're not tied onto the canoe. You go for a swim, and the barrel starts disappearing off down the river. I mean, you'll pick it up at some point, but they separate very quickly. So actually attaching the barrels to your canoe, and there's 2 ways we can do it. I'll show you when we do the boat stuff. Basically, you either strap them down really tight so they become part of the kayak, which is sort of okay, or the other way is you have a long line on it, and so it's attached very securely to a long line. And then when you're emptying your boat, you can chuck the barrels out, empty your boat. But we'll do lots of practices for that. Super. A stop button on mine.